Sports Card Nation, the hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews, it's your number one source. Sports Card Nation, the hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Welcome to another stocked and loaded episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important hobby news, discussions, debates, opinions, info, and interviews with key hobby and sports dignitaries. Also, if you're good, you know we are going to give away something. Now, here's the guy that wanted the cards more than the gum. John Newman.
What is up? Welcome to episode 149, Sports Card Nation. We don't have a guest today on the show. We have 3 guests on the show today, happy to say that. My buddies, Val Marz, Logan Ward, and Jason Martin. They are all the hosts of Nascard Radio, a obviously NASCAR podcast. They're expanding kind of into other forms of racing as well. They do a great job on that show, and in a niche where there's not many shows that cover that genre of hobby. They got all the bases covered, and these guys know their stuff. I'm happy to call them friends, and happy to finally get them on the show. And I said, man, let's all get we'll do a big episode where you're all on the show at the same time. And we're going to talk a little NASCAR, but we're going to talk other parts of the hobby. These guys might be NASCAR collectors, but they know the hobby as well. They know other sports cards, and so they're just not a one-trick pony. They know their stuff. So we're going to talk NASCAR. We're going to talk current events and other things as well. Happy to get them on the show. We had fun, cutting it up a little bit. So I've been sharing a little bit of my personal news with my employment situation. For those that didn't know or haven't maybe listened to all the episodes where I talk about it for a minute or two, early September I lost my employment, and something I wanted to do was teacher assistant, working alongside teachers in a classroom setting, impacting students and the youth, and something, if you know me, you know how that's important to me. Always has been, always will be. Used to coach varsity football and baseball, maybe eventually get back into doing that down the line as well. No rush there. Had to do some testing, had to take a test, passed that test about a month ago, and had to get my background check, fingerprinting done. The FBI had to say John's not wanted on any federal charges. That is the case, and if you're listening to this recording on Friday, on Wednesday, I started my new career as a teacher assistant at a high school here in the county, and great first day, and really enjoying it. The hours, I can't, my previous job, I worked 6 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., so almost 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. This is school hours, so 7:45 to 2:45. I got more time to use, and as I get older, I need that time, it seems like, and really love the hours. Time flies. It's like I get there, and I know it's only been a couple days, but I get there, and it's you work with the kids, help them out, and it's time to go. And really blessed to it's a blessing in disguise. Anytime you lose your employment, it's always a scary time. I don't care what financial situation you're in or not in, how much you dislike your job. Getting told you don't have one is a scary thing, and it was for me too, even though I really wasn't digging my job anymore, truth be told. I wanted to kind of leave on my terms. I was sort of laying down the groundwork, and they beat me to it. Maybe they got wind that I was sort of doing a new career path with teacher's assistant. I didn't advertise it, but sometimes people talk, and but it's a blessing in disguise. I really enjoy what I'm going to be doing and impacting the youth and people, and making a difference and being there for folks. I really wasn't getting that, truth be told, from my previous job. And that, pay's important, benefits are important, no doubt, but enjoying your job and making a difference in someone's life, you can't put a price on that. That stuff is priceless, and I think that's kind of where I'm at now. So sorry to kind of gloat and go on a little bit longer than I initially planned to on that, but I'm really excited, and I know I've been talking about the process on the show, and I wanted to this will probably wrap up. I'm not going to talk about this every week, how my week at school went, but I wanted to kind of close that chapter out and report that I am employed and happily, and really enjoy what I'm doing so far. So many of you have sent emails or private messages, or even public ones on social media when I was kind of talking about some of these things, wishing me good luck, giving me words of encouragement, and I tried to answer every one of those personally, and I really appreciated that. Means the world to me, and happy to report doing okay now. So thank you, everybody. All right, time for this week's new product release schedule. And my man Owen Gocha from the Sports Card Shop at Moco is going to do it for us this week. Again, Max, Owen, Rex, and family doing great things out there. Happy to have them part of the show. And we'll have them on probably next week as our distinguished guest. But here's Owen to give you all the products coming out this week. Take it away, Owen.
Hello guys, it's Owen from the Sports Card Shop. I just wanted to thank John Newman and the Sports Card Nation podcast for letting me be on here. So here's the releases. First new release, Leaf Ultimate Football. 2021 Panini Origins Football, International Blaster. 2021 Topps WWE Chrome. 2021 Bowman Transcendent Baseball. 2021 Onyx Vintage Basketball. 2021 Panini Chronicles Baseball. 2021 Panini Donruss Optic Choice Baseball. 2021 Panini Mosaic Baseball Hobby. 2021 Panini National Treasures Collegiate Football. 2021 Topps 5-Star Baseball. 2021 Topps Star Wars Chrome Legacy. 2021 Onyx Vintage Extended Series Baseball. 2021 Panini Absolute Football. 2021 Panini Donruss Football Factory Set. It's all from the Sports Card Shop. Thank you, John. See you another time.
It's time for the Hobby What's Up, where we go around the hobby world and tell you all the latest news and breaking stories from the hobby we love.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
My mentality was to go out and win at any cost.
Might that cost be $2.7 million? Well, we have a new Michael Jordan single card record. No, not for the 86-87 Fleer rookie. The 1997-98 Upper Deck game jersey patch auto, which, by the way, is the first Jordan game used auto card made. 23 of them to be exact. This was number 6 of 23. BGS 8 card and auto each got an 8, and so now becomes the leading Jordan title holder for most money garnered. Not via auction. Now, Golden Auctions brokered the sale, but it was through their private sales division. I will give you the seller. I will not name him other than to say he has been on this show as a guest. That's all I'll say to that. Speaking of big money and the fractional share market, couple stories on that front this week. Rally has a $15 million investment from Wheelhouse. Wheelhouse is headed by Pawn Stars founder Brett Montgomery, and a big investor in that Wheelhouse company is Jimmy Kimmel, amongst others. Rally has now had $65 million invested in them in their company, including Kevin Durant. Collectible, another fractional share company, as you know, and a sponsor of the show, has partnered with Leland's Auctions to create the Mint 25 auction. This will be a 25-lot auction on display at their Mint Collective event in Las Vegas. These 25 lots will be available from January 10th to January 29th. You can bid in person at the event or via phone. Again, 25 lots, and the lowest item is a minimum of $250K. So $250,000 will be the cheapest item, and there will be 25 lots total. Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens, young superstar, has signed an exclusive autograph deal with Upper Deck, so you will only be able to get the Nick Suzuki autos out of that product. And, you know, we can't have a week of this news segment, unfortunately, right, without a break-in story with an LCS. And it's happened again. Ultimate Collectibles in Minneapolis, Minnesota, on October 4th. Their back door was broken in, and the burglar, got away with over $100,000 in wax and singles. This was the second time in 4 years that this card store was robbed. And then I'm reading that the first robbery was a significant one as well. They kind of made a comeback, and they're hit again. And we're hearing these stories just left and right. And, as a former LCS guy, hate to hear it. And I'm really starting to think, there are some businesses where there's high-end valuables where they'll actually hire an overnight guy, with a license to carry to actually stay on premises during closing hours to protect the company and the assets. We've seen that in other businesses, gold, silver, car lots sometimes will do that, your high-end car lots. And it's really getting to that point almost with a card store. You almost need a person there overnight just guarding the store, or I like my idea, get one of those industrial safes. But if you're not going to get a huge safe, you almost have to have someone in the store overnight now. We're just so many of these now. And these LCSs are just big targets now, big bullseye for burglaries, and they've become a real hot spot. And I feel terrible when I hear these stories. Maybe that's because I used to own one, but you work hard to acquire the inventory just for someone to bust in a window or door and steal it. It's just, that really, really irks me. And so I don't know the answer. I've got a couple, solutions. There's more than even the ones I've said, but man, it's almost like you got to have someone on site 24 hours, 24/7 to protect these things. And, it's crazy. All right, it's come to light that about 4 years ago, behind the scenes and very quietly, the Major League Baseball and National Football League Players Associations got together, had sort of a private meeting. They did not like how the brands that had the licensing were handling products and dealing with them, and they pretty much made kind of they formed an organization called One Team Partners, and with the goal to, sort of unify and sort of take some of that power back. We know what happened with the Fanatics deal, but it's really starting to look like that the groundwork was laid down about 4 years ago with this One Team Partners, organization, if you will, formed by Major League Baseball and the NFL. Obviously, the NBA joined suit, which, I just not sure how the Topps and Panini kind of maybe didn't see the writing on the wall, or just maybe, didn't choose to acknowledge it. I don't know all the details, but this story seems to indicate that this ball got rolling as far back as about 4 years ago. Close out this segment, a little personal hobby story, if you will. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, Topps offered the Mike Tyson autograph cards from the Once Upon a Time in Queens set. It was, direct to consumer. They had the base card, the 99, I think 50, the 25, and the 101, which was crazy money. I initially wanted to get just the base auto. I've been looking to get a Mike Tyson auto, fellow Brooklynite. Never had a Tyson auto. Went to get the base. It was sold out. And then I had a feeling like they were all going to be sold out. So I went to the next level, which was the number to 99 green version. Put it in my cart. Obviously, more money. Put it in my cart, which is what I did with the base. And then it said out of stock. So I was waiting for another out of stock message, but it wasn't. So I did purchase the green to 99 Mike Tyson auto. There was a note on the bottom of the screen that it says it could be 3 to 4 months before you receive the card. And I'm happy to say this week, which is only about 5 weeks later, rather than 3 to 4 months, I got the card, and it's awesome. It's a on-card auto, so it's not a sticker auto. Big. What's cool about it, I posted it on my social media. He signed it huge, big autograph, and on the card he's fake punching Dwight Gooden in the face with Darryl Strawberry watching, and where he put the auto it was real nice. It has him all cleared. He didn't cover himself up. A little bit of Gooden, but you can still see what's going on. Just a perfectly placed auto. Mine's number 29 of 99. Nothing significant with the number 29. You always check that. But it's instantly become one of my favorite cards. It's not going to be for sale. It's going to stay probably on my desk, either in the acrylic case that I talk about sometimes, or just out in a stand. But instantly becomes a PC card, and probably one of my favorite cards in my collection. And I just want to put a disclaimer, I know the out of the ring stuff, heck, even the in the ring stuff with Bite and Holyfield and that, I don't condone any of that, but the boxer itself, one of the greatest of all time. So happy to add a Tyson auto to my collection.
Pastime Marketplace has a line of graded card cases that are waterproof, airtight, dust-tight, and hardened to protect and organize your valuable collection. Each of our cases come with pre-cut and pre-formed foam, so you don't have to cut and tear the foam when you get your case. The pre-cut foam inserts are sized to hold PSA, Beckett, SGC, and CGS slabs. Store it all safely and securely with a case from Pastime Marketplace. Check them out at www.pastimemarketplace.com.
Sports Card Nation! It's now time to chop it up with our featured guest on the one-of-one card shop guest line. Let's go!
Joining me now on the Sports Card Nation interview session. What's better than one guest? What's better than two guests? You guessed it. 3 guests. So in no particular order, Joining me tonight, we got Val Marz, Logan Ward, and Jason Martin. They all are the co-hosts and hosts of Nascard Radio. I know them fairly well. I know Jason a little bit. Me and Val and Logan are national buddies. I guess we kind of spent a lot of time together recently in Chicago. We're also on Hobby Hotline. Little tease, Jason may be joining us there as well. But let's start off with your show. You're, as far as we know, you got the market cornered, guys. You're the only NASCAR sport, racing card podcast that everyone's aware of. So I'm not trying to get anyone motivated to go get you, but that's sort of a cool space to be in when you're the only game in town. As we all know, when it comes to the sports card podcasting, there's only 1,000 now. So that pool's a little full. You got a lot of swimming room, to use an analogy. Kind of, talk about whoever wants to go first. Kind of how the show started and where you are kind of to now.
Well, it was a few years ago. John, thanks for having us on the show. Like I said, it started a few years ago. I had the blog, Nascard radio blog, and a few other YouTube video channels and stuff, and always wanted to do NASCAR trading card podcast, but I was always trying to find a host. I didn't, figured nobody wanted to listen to myself talk all the time, and trying to guess questions and answers and stuff. But I originally teamed up with Jason, and we started a few years ago, and that was good. And then we were able to bring Logan on. And so, the three of us, so we have some different, we all collected baseball cards growing up and have that love for trading cards. And then some of us have collected NASCAR trading cards longer than others. And, there's not a lot of information out in the market. Logan and Jason can agree with that. And I felt that people needed that information to make educated decisions on collecting and spending their hard-earned money for that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where it was born out of.
And Jason, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This isn't your first rodeo. You podcasted for Steel City a few years back as well. So this is not uncharted territory for you.
Yeah, definitely not. And there was even a podcast that I had done with Ken Kinsley. We had done 10 or 15 episodes, and then life kind of got in the way. So even Steel City wasn't my first. But going to what Val said, and we've kind of talked about it before, I think Val was a guest on my Steel City show, and then we kind of clicked. And then the dynamic that we have, where he's the veteran collector and I'm the rookie collector, I'm kind of asking the questions that probably the majority of listeners are, especially if they're new to that area of the hobby. And I think that's what's always worked well. And then with Logan coming on board, it's like two veterans that have the wealth of knowledge, and I feel safe asking the dummy questions because I know one of them is going to have a good answer for me, if not both of them.
Yeah. Now, I do this show I do usually by myself, other than the interview portion, and sometimes I find myself interrupting myself. How about when you have three guys on the show? How difficult is that? to especially be, obviously not in the same room where you can kind of, when someone's about to say something. How do you kind of doing it enough, you sort of know who's going to say something next type of deal? How does that dynamic sort of work itself out?
I'll start. I don't think it's bad at all. I think if somebody cuts another person off, it's me, because they get on a tangent and they know what they're talking about. And by the time they're done, I have more questions than we started with. So I kind of have to backtrack them a little bit. So if anybody's interrupting, it's me, because I don't want to forget, that question that probably somebody else has. So, but other than that, I think it's worked out pretty well.
I would agree with that. We don't step on each other too much. It happens every once in a while, but believe it or not, the cadence is, I think, pretty good between all three of us.
Yeah, I think we have a good, I've known Logan for, 10, 15 years, and working with Jason with the podcast for the last 2 or 3. I think we kind of learn each other and have a little patience and try to pay extra attention to that so we don't step on each other, and try to remember, okay, I want to come back to this and let them finish their point, and then go to the next thing. So I think we work great together.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's funny I asked that question. Yeah, we do Hobby Hotlines, the same sort of dynamic too, and sometimes we got 5 or 6 wide on those screens every once in a while. You work through it. You can kind of sense when someone is about to say something or done with their thought as well. So let's talk about racing cards. We've seen the explosion, obviously, in the hobby on the 4 major sports, if you will, for the most part. Has racing seen that in its side as well, or not as much as guys that have their finger on the pulse when it comes to racing cards? How would you assess what we've seen in baseball, football, basketball, and even somewhat in hockey as far as racing cards go?
I think NASCAR is probably one of the last ones we've gotten past by wrestling. I thought NASCAR would take off wrestling, Pokemon, golf, F1, so
WNBA, everybody,
pretty much. But I am encouraged with the NASCAR starting to get a little bit of that love, at least the vintage 1972 STP Richard Petty's. Some of those cars now are starting to fetch a few $1,000s, where before you could have got them for a few hundred. There's nowhere near the money that the F1 is seeing. I think that has an effect because it's the first year F1. It's in this market that we're in right now, and everybody's rushing to that sport. But it's kind of the same thing that happened with NASCAR back in '88 when Max started, '88. But then you had that drag second, third, fourth year where you're not having a lot of rookies and stuff. And, we'll see what happens with F1. But I was at the Hickory show. Logan was at the Nashville show. I saw a lot of NASCAR product. So I'm encouraged that maybe it's starting to, people are not sleeping now on NASCAR. It's, we've got Chase Elliott and Haley Deegan, a couple of big names, prospects, stuff like that I think people are paying attention to now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When I was at the Nashville show, I saw a fair amount of NASCAR, but what was strange to me is, F1 has been so hot, but I didn't see hardly any F1 at that show, which was strange to me. And I don't know why. I can't explain it, but NASCAR cards are starting to go up, which I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see people are paying more attention to NASCAR. I think a lot of it has to do with the way NASCAR is running the races now. They've got, instead of just, a single points championship throughout the year, they now have a playoff system, which is helping. It creates excitement, creates a lot of interest, and I think that's helping a lot. And of course, we've got all of our card issues from Panini, which are really nice issues. We've got the Prism, we've got the Donruss, we've got the Chronicles, and we're going to have National Treasures. So there's a lot of nice stuff out there. So I think it's really doing well.
Take a real quick break, but we'll be back with more with the guys after this.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com. or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
We are back with Jason, Val, and Logan.
NASCAR is not saturated like some of the baseball other products where NASCAR gets 4 product releases a year, 3 being Donruss, Chronicles, Prism, and then you have the high-end National Treasures. So it gives the collector time to collect, and you're not on that conveyor belt where the next product's coming out, and you're just trying to drink from the fire hose, and you're just kind of spinning your wheels. So where I think NASCAR gives the collector an opportunity to have some breathing room between releases to collect what they want to collect. Players,
you mean
or drivers,
there's not 150 rookies of the hottest rookie in whatever sport each year?
No, we get probably a handful, maybe to 10. And again, NASCAR is different than the other sports where you have the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and Cup Series. So kind of like your AAA, AA, and Single A. But people can be professional at any of those levels, and they have championships for all of them. And there's some levels lower than that too. But so you have, and I've said this before, when a driver comes up to the Cup level, you've known about them for a few years as they've worked their way up. So nobody really surprises anybody, but so you're not having these rookies like, come out of college or whatever, like football, baseball, and make a huge impact. But you do have the rookies, like Haley Deegan, Natalie Decker, Ty Gibbs this year, who raced last year. We've called him Troy, Ty freaking Gibbs. He's not running the full schedule, and I'm sure everybody's pretty happy that he did. And he's the grandson of Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
And he has won a few races and has been the highest finishing rookie. And so in our show, basically, we cover the 3 series, the winner and their trading cards, and then the highest finishing rookie and their trading cards. And then we'll also go into another segment of maybe an older set that was released, and we'll talk about it. So so we get some of these rookies, but it's nobody that's, going to be in Cup Series and be a rookie. So you kind of know about them. So you don't have that 100-and-something rookies. You have a few. Maybe you go back a few years, like, Haley Deegan or something like that.
So we're seeing a lot in the major sports. I know I keep saying that, but that's how I'm using that sort of as the comparison to one another. We see a lot of new people coming into the hobby. Is even on a smaller scale, are you seeing some new people collecting NASCAR cards, or is it a lot of like longtime collectors that have just stayed with it, or is it sort of a mix of both?
I think we have a mix of both.
It's kind of a mix of both.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah,
I've seen people come like at the Hickory show, people that either had collected and are coming back, and then you have some folks that are new, or they collected other sports and they have heard or whatever, either through the podcast or some other way, and they're wanting to collect the harder to find sets, the 72 STP or 83 Unos. Then I had one person come up and was looking for the 1988 buybacks that was in the 1998 product from Upper Deck when they bought the rights to produce Max cards for a few years, and then they did some buybacks with 88 in that 98 product.
So listen, NASCAR is wildly popular, has a rabid fan base. Why do you think that really hasn't translated over to the card side as much as you would think? Is it Panini maybe not promoting the product as much? We have in baseball, we got National Baseball Card Day. I know we talked not on the air, Val and Logan, about this. Do they? I just think going to a race, someone from Panini should be there giving out promo packs or some sort of, as people come through the gate, some representation. Hey, there's racing cards. Here's some, whether it's base cards that are just in the pack itself or packs itself, or some promos that are even exclusive to the race. Hey, you can only get these 4 cards if you went to the race at this track that day, and almost kind of build some inherent value right there in itself. Like, who's to blame for maybe it not being card wise, because it is a popular sport, as far as sports goes. But why hasn't that translated over on the same parallel to cards? Who do we point the finger at, I guess, is my question.
So I think what Val mentioned earlier with having 4 or 5 releases a year is a blessing and a curse, because the most recent one was Chronicles, and some people were still finding it in stores like Target and Walmart and such for blasters. But when we look on the calendar for the next release, there's nothing there. And it's like we're going into November, December, January, and there's nothing on the calendar. So it's almost like, how can you look forward to something when it's not even listed? And I think it would even be better if they just said, okay, we're shooting for November and we push it back 2 weeks. Because, I mean, when I was at Steel City, that stuff happened all the time. Things get pushed back all the time. And now it's like, well, if a casual collector goes and looks at anybody's release calendar, it just looks like they're done for the year. And it's kind of that thing of, well, I'll just put my money elsewhere because there's no more releases coming. If they're not an experienced collector like the 4 of us, they just think, well, I'm done, so I want to spend that money elsewhere.
So out of sight, out of mind, kind of.
That's kind of my thinking. And it's too long between releases.
I think it's too hard or too much work on Panini's part to do something like this for the reward, the risk versus reward.
Yeah, definitely.
The tracks are owned by different companies. There's no drivers association, so you have to negotiate with all the drivers. There's a big presence of diecasts. A lot of people collect diecasts as opposed to cards.
Yeah.
Now, Panini does sponsor Greg Galding with the Panini card, but they don't run every race. They run selected races. So they've done some promotion inside of the sport. But, it makes sense, and we've talked to Panini about it a few times, to have some kind of sponsorship or some kind of giveaway at the tracks, but the logistics for all that, it doesn't happen. And they used to do Panini Instant, but they stopped doing that in 2017 was last year they did that, 2016, 2017. And they have not revived that, which, I would think that would be an easy thing for them to do. They've done other instant cards, but, I don't know what the revenue that NASCAR trading cards brings in for Panini, and if they want to, try to grow that or not.
Well, you think even the sport itself, Val, would be a little more. We're seeing what we're seeing on we'll talk a little more about that. We'll get to it, but with this Fanatics deal, right? Now you got the players sort of having an equity stake and a seat at the negotiating table. You think the racers, the drivers themselves would want the sport promoted via cardboard and chrome, what they're doing in that. And, I think a lot of these drivers know about their cards. They're probably getting them handed to them to get signed by collectors. Hey, will you sign my card? So they got to be aware that these cards exist and they're being made. And the NASCAR itself, I mean, it's another way to promote. You mentioned even the diecast cards, the cars themselves as collectibles. That is a huge collect. It's and I don't know what Panini has or hasn't done. Maybe they have tried, but even to go to the companies that make these cars and say, hey, we can put whatever card that is in a driver. Maybe we can partner and put a Panini racing card of that driver in with the car. So whoever buys the card, gets a card. I guess most people probably keep those closed, but then the card's visible in the blister packaging per se. And so it's another way to promote the product. They're obviously paying for licensing, so you think they'd want to put something in the promo to get the word out there about what they're producing. Any thoughts on I'm going to shoot ideas out there because I don't know all the parameters. So it's easy for me to play armchair, racing card. Hey, let's do this, let's do that. Anything based on what I said, maybe they can't do it, and I'm just way off base here. But I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on some of those even ideas?
I don't see any reason why they can't do that because back in the day, years ago, Racing Champions, when they produced their 1/64th diecast cars, they had a card in the blister pack. Of course, nobody opens up, any true collector doesn't open up the blister pack, but you still have the card there. So you still actually had a card. Another thing is Val and I have discussed this a lot, is the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte. We would love to see them give out cards to their members. And we would also love to see them even promote maybe a racing collectible / card show at the Hall of Fame. But those things kind of go just, by the wayside and go unanswered, and we've talked to numerous people numerous times, and it just doesn't seem to go anywhere. And I have no explanation for why it's like that.
I think the philosophy, and Logan, you can, give me your thoughts on this as well, but that NASCAR is a different mentality than other sports. Basically, NASCAR feeds off of everybody else paying NASCAR for access to sponsorship, advertising, for them to do something like that without somebody else paying them, I think. And I don't know if I'm saying it right, Logan, but the naming rights for this and the drivers are more contractors. There's a charter system, but to try to get an umbrella of all the drivers and relationship with the tracks, they're all kind of independent. Well, they're groups, but they're independent from NASCAR, the governing body. So, when they have the races, there's a title sponsor. You have the sponsorship for the cars, and then they take all that money, and then they pay for the employees to work on the cars, build the cars, drive the cars. So,
another quick break, but we'll be right back.
The Sports Card Shop is your small-town local card shop with a global reach. Located in New Buffalo, Michigan, the shop is one of the most accessible in the Midwest. In addition to being an authorized Panini direct dealer, the Sports Card Shop carries all major trading card brands, including Topps, Upper Deck, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and more. With all that new wax, 500,000 singles, and showcases full of graded cards, you're sure to find something great for your collection, whether you're just starting out or a seasoned collector. The Sports Card Shop is your one-stop shop. So call us, come see us, or visit us on the web and social media. Our phone number is 269-469-0140. Website is thesportscardshop@moco.com. The Sports Card Shop is part of the Moco Retail Group, connecting sports, the hobby, and people around the world.
Sports Card Nation is back with Val, Logan, and Jason. And if I'm a driver, I'm flattered like someone's going to buy my diecast car that I drive, right? The number, the paint scheme. But man, I'd love to see my card in there where someone can see what I look like too. You know what I mean? The car doesn't drive itself. It's not Christine in the Stephen King novel. So promote the who the driver is, what they look like, whatever. And I've seen the diecast cards, and if they don't have, a picture of the driver on the box or anywhere, it's like, to me, if I'm the driver, I'm like, hey, that's cool that my car's like, scaled down for fans to purchase and put on their desk, their office, their mantle. But I'd be even more thrilled to see my face somewhere on there. I'm the driver of that. I'm glad you're a fan, and here's what I look like in case for those that may not know, and so I just don't know why there's not more hands-on between whether it's the drivers, whether it's the powers that be in NASCAR, whether that's Panini. I'm sure they have a racing division if they're paying for the licensing. Why those folks in that department aren't, and they may be doing things, and I don't want to talk like they're just playing, Connect Four all day until 4:30, and then we're out of here, But I just, even as not a collector in the same vein as you guys, I do have some racing cards, as you know, but I'd want to know, that the brand is trying to promote this line as much as they can. Again, they're not going to just dump, wheelbarrows of money into promotion where it's past that point of we're not going to get a return on this promotion. We put too much money in it. But, to call up a track or the commissioner, and say, hey, we were thinking about doing this. What do you think? Logan, you mentioned the Hall of Fame. I'm assuming it's like most sports Hall of Fames. They have an induction class every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why not have a card set for all the new inductees? And there's a collectible in itself. Every year I got to get who's ever inducted. There's going to be induction cards. I got to get this year's set, whether it's 4 guys, 4 people, 7 people, whatever it is, whether it's Panini or even if another company can come in and make sort of an induction set each year. I think even with something like that, you would get maybe even someone who isn't a true NASCAR collector say, hey, I want to get those induction sets.
Even that's frustrating because they do it for the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, they do those sets every year. And then the year that I went, it's been a few years, whenever Bettis was inducted, they had previous year sets. So I bought one of every year that they had because I knew, when's the next time I'm going to be here. And it's that thing of, I know it's the NFL and I know it's NASCAR, but sometimes they treat it like they have the license just so somebody else doesn't. And that's frustrating.
So they're buying it so you can't have it. Like we have it, you can't get it. Yeah, but there's so many ways they can go. With maybe a special promo set for each race that you can only get by attending the race. And that would create a secondary market in itself, guys, because someone who went through the turnstile, hey, I don't really collect cards, but I got this set because I went to the race. I'm going to throw it on eBay and see what this thing's going to bring. Now, I, who didn't go to the race, I want those cards. So I'm going to bid it up, and then you're bidding against me, and then that 4-card set goes for $25. Let's just say, I'm just throwing out numbers, right? Create sort of a demand, right? The induction set. Give out those sets to those who attend the ceremony. Now, I didn't go to the ceremony, but I'm trying to get every set every year and keep my collection complete. I couldn't go this year, but I need the cards. So now I got to buy it on the secondary market. I know I'm making it sound easy, and it's probably not as easy as I'm making it sound, but I also don't think it's as difficult as it seems to be either. I think the answer is probably somewhere in the middle there. But there's just so many things they could do to promote it. And Jason, you probably, you got a good point there. Maybe Panini has the license because they just don't want someone else to get it. But if that's the case, and I'm not saying it isn't, it might very well be, it's sort of silly. Because if you're not going to do nothing with it, definitely. Let someone listen. Is Panini going to go out of business because Upper Deck got the NASCAR license? No, I got to worry about something else bigger that we're talking about here in a minute. But you're not going to do anything with it, or not, or leave a lot on the table, or leave a lot to be desired. Then let someone else get the license and maybe do a better job. Again, it's easy for me to say, not being that, expertised in it. I've been in the hobby a long time. It just, I like race. The cards I have, a lot of them are sharp looking. They're designed well. You got sheet metal. That's cool. You got fire suit, memorabilia cards. They're they're well done. It's just like I just don't think they spend enough time to promote these brands and products, and it's sort of sad because they're really some of the cooler cards I've seen in any sport. I'm not talking just racing, just in general. And I'd like to see it do better potentially than it has. Let's just put it that way.
So I've talked to the Hall of Fame, and the first induction ceremonies, when I think it was first class, was 2010. So Press Pass had it at that point. But I've talked to the membership services and stuff like that over at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, trying, giving some of these ideas to them. Panini has worked on a few things, but I think there's that disconnect between the two. Now, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, they put out a diecast every year, and with images of the inductees, and I don't keep that diecast. I get rid of it. So, I want a card set. Panini has come with some little ingenious things. They did a 5x7 of Bobby Allison. Basically, it's the larger image of his 2016 Prism card. They gave that at the Hall of Fame. I gave that away at the Hall of Fame when they were revealing Bobby Allison's Coke car for Glory Road. When you walk in the Hall of Fame, there's a road, and basically it starts from the older cars to the generation of cars up, and they rotate them so many years. And then in 2019 in Donruss, they basically created a 12-card Fox announcer set. I think it was 200 cards or 200 sets, and they gave those to the Fox announcers, and they just kind of gave those away for social media and stuff like that. But hardly any have ever come up on the secondary market and are really hard to find. I think trying to generate some interest. But the NASCAR Hall of Fame, we've talked to them about doing a trading card display, because I know Cooperstown has the baseball cards. Yeah. And there's some kind of disconnect, or the NASCAR Hall of Fame doesn't want to pay have some kind of set or whatever. Because I also mentioned that it would have been really nice to have a Donruss set maybe with the NASCAR Hall of Fame logo on it. Kind of like what Topps had done with factory sets or whatever, only for members. I think it'd be a tremendous collectible, and they'd get more membership. But they don't think that way. They don't think as the card collector. They think as, NASCAR Hall of Fame is run by the city of Charlotte. The, NASCAR, I guess, allows them to do that. So it's a weird situation, I guess. And I see exactly what you're talking about, and for the life of me, I don't understand why they can't get some of this done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even a diehard, and I want to see it. I got to think those that are into the cards want it even more than I would want to see it.
Yeah, and something that I really missed this year at the National is you couldn't buy any NASCAR boxes to get silver packs. From what I understand, the reason is there wasn't enough supply. At least that was what the prevailing thought was. Enough supply of at the time it was Chronicles to actually do that part of the promotion, but they had all the other big sports covered, and I really would have liked to have gotten some silver packs, but I'm not I don't collect those other cards, so I just I was not able to get any of those silver packs.
It's again, you guys know more than I do, so I'll to me it sounds like Panini is sort of leaving stuff on the table. I guess my question is, how long is their license for? How long is their contract for?
I'm not sure. Do you know, Val?
I do not.
No, I've looked because I've tried to look up some other things that kind of pertain to that, and I cannot find like a definite date for the license. Yeah.
Well, you got to think maybe a couple years max. I mean, it's probably not like a 10 or what we just saw on the Fanatic side of thing, 20-year deal. Who's to say, we're going to talk about this here in a second. Who's to say, Fanatics is just trying to get all the licensing deals. Time to go pay another bill. But when we come back, more from Val, Logan, and Jason. Card Nation is back. What about, whether we like them or not, we put personal feelings aside. What about Fanatics grabbing this license and saying, hey, we're going to we're going to do racing right. We got our own sort of ideas with this. As racing collectors, what would your thoughts be there? Would you be hesitant? Would you, just kind of want to see what they can do? I mean, what's your thoughts?
I'm hesitant about it for the other sports, but for this one, I would like to see what they would do, just because of what we've already talked about with the number of releases and the timing and all of that. I would just like to see what they would do, because when you have 4 or 5 releases a year, how much change is really involved in that to add a couple or to make some exclusives or whatever. It's a much bigger deal when it's football and you have 75 releases or whatever the number is. I think it's a lot easier to make some changes with the NASCAR stuff than it is for the other sports.
I think, whoever does on demand, I think Panini is really missing the boat with Panini Instant, because you're either a set collector or you're a driver collector. And if you're, I guess, either or, when these drivers get these wins, right? It's like a pitcher getting wins, team getting wins. You want to have that card set. You want to continue that run through the driver's wins. Bubba Wallace, his first win. That is a golden opportunity to people to collect every win that he gets. Chase Elliott, all his wins, or Kyle Larson wins. People. I just think a lot of opportunities for these on demand, and they're missing that. And I know it's tough. So what they used to do was they'd have a week. It would be that Friday. So whoever won on Sunday, the next Friday is when they would go on sale, and they would go on sale. I think, I don't know if it was 24 hours or it was eventually through the weekend. But they have to get the driver to sign off on the photo, the team to sign off on the photo, the sponsor to sign off on the photo. So I think there was 1 week that they didn't get one because they couldn't get the whatever okays for those photos, whatever, to release that. And it was only at the Cup level. It wasn't even at the, truck or Xfinity. So just imagine when Haley Deegan gets her first win, or, Ty Gibbs when he got his first win, or gets his first win at the Cup level. I just think these are golden opportunities being missed.
Yeah. And, you're talking about Fanatics. Fanatics is already dabbling in the NASCAR merchandise, as far as, team merchandise, like, T-shirts and, pennants and, just wearable things and, things like that. Because I read the other day that they signed a contract with Bubba Wallace and Team 2311 to be the exclusive provider of their merchandise. And I don't think that includes cards. I just think that's just hats and T-shirts and whatnot. So, they are sort of in it, but from a card aspect, I think Panini for now has that tied up.
So, Logan, correct me if I'm wrong, and John, I don't know if you know this, so merchandising at the track, there's haulers that come in by team or by driver and sell the merchandise, T-shirts, hats, banners. I don't remember if maybe they have die caps. I can't remember.
Yep, they do.
And then some of them, are combined. Like Chase Elliott has his own hauler, but then the rest of Hendrick might have, the other drivers have one hauler that they share. And I thought there was a time where Fanatics came in and they were going to be the exclusive and selling of the merchandise. I don't know how long that deal ran, but then they reverted back. So I don't know if Fanatics couldn't make it work, or I'm thinking about it wrong.
Well, I think the concept for Fanatics was, and I remember this, they set up this really large tent, and you would walk in there and you'd have the merchandise for all the different drivers. And I think NASCAR fans, it's been this way forever, that, they have the haulers, that they have the what do they call it? The merchandise row or whatever, where they have all the haulers with all the merchandise for all the different drivers. And I just don't think that the fans took to that, because I'll be honest with you, when I went in there and looked at it, it was kind of like I was walking into a Target or a Walmart or something. I just didn't get a good feel for it. I like being able to go up to the merchandise hauler and looking at all the stuff that's up there and picking what I want. And it just wasn't the same experience. So I think the NASCAR fans just didn't gel with that.
Yeah, but it's like a rock show, right? You know, you got the merch tent. It makes you wonder how much goes to the driver. Like, what percent is it? Is it all? Is it they have to pay for the the cost of producing the materials? But like you guys said, Fanatics has already got sort of a few fingers in that till already. I don't want to speak for Fanatics. I haven't talked to anybody. I got to think if that license becomes available, if the price is right, they would definitely pay for it and produce cards. I think that's their ultimate goal, is to get as much as anything as they can. And maybe that's what it needs. Maybe it needs a little new lifeblood in racing cards. I hate to say that. Panini's made some really nice cards. I have some. But it just, I don't know, the promotion doesn't seem to line up with the licensing. But again, that's easy for me to say here in Syracuse, New York. Well, we touched on Fanatics here. Let's kind of go back into, if you will, mainstream stuff. We'll start kind of with Jason too. We heard him say, like he kind of would be interested to see what Fanatics would do on the racing side of the house, but he's a little hesitant with the other sports. I guess to Jason, I'm not saying I even disagree with you, but
right.
What's your thought process there?
I just think it's tough because right now we've seen kind of an outline of what the plan possibly is, but it's kind of like everybody has their opinion of what that means and what the changes are. And I think when you take out tops first, and then we're looking whatever it is, 2 to 3 years ahead, it's like 2 to 3 years of unanswered questions, and for somebody like me, I collect the tops flagship set and the heritage set. And then I do team sets for a couple teams that I have. And it's like, oh my God, Heritage is going to stop. They're never going to make it to my favorite 1990 tops design. It's just little things like that where when you take out President first, kind of like that one that's been there forever, you take out Tops Baseball, I think that scares a lot of people, including myself. I'm not so scared about Panini losing football or, these other ones that are probably going to happen, because there have been changes over the years. But when you take out that big one first, like that's the first thing that came out, it's scary because it could be a real whole new ball game in 3 years. Yeah. And it's just scary. The unknown is scary.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's a great point. And I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I joked that me and Tops were born in the same city because we were. Tops is a few years older than me, but I grew up opening Tops baseball packs and having them in my backyard. And when that news first broke and I saw that notification on my phone and opened it up and read it, it was shocking to me. You just thought it would go on sort of forever. Now things could happen here. Now Tops could be purchased potentially by Fanatics. They can still, maybe we still see Tops logo cards with those 5 letters. Like you said, Jason, maybe your heritage won't die and they keep that line alive. There is a lot of unknowns. And here's
which
the thing.
I think everybody is hoping for.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds to say, I think everybody is hoping.
I think so too. I think so too. And I think it would be a good olive branch for Fanatics to try to do that. Because here they're coming in kind of the big bully on the block, throwing money around, schmoozing players in a sense to get some of these deals done. It would be an olive branch to collectors to say, listen, we know what Tops means to you. We're not here to just obliterate 70 years of baseball card and sports card history we're going to keep the brand alive. Sure, we're going to be calling the shots, but the brand's not going away. And I think it would be a good olive branch to kind of give to the collectors to say, listen, we kind of came in strong, but we're not this big, dictatorship that maybe we're being portrayed. We care about your feelings. These brands are going to stick around, and you're going to still have the ability to keep collecting the collection you've built. You're going to be able to add on to it. They can do that even with Panini potentially, and so I'm hopeful. But here's the crazy thing, like you said, Jason, we're a couple years away. We're going to be talking about this for a couple years before we even see anything that we can actually hold in our hands that pertain to recent, decisions and contracts and stuff. The other thing I didn't like, and I'll just kind of, and then I'll let Val and Logan give their assessment. A 20-year contract on these licensing agreements is to me is outrageous. Like I wouldn't even want Topps necessarily getting 20 years. That's just too long to give someone a license for. 5 years, 10 years, and now you got a brand like I know Fanatics is not a new company. They do a pretty good job. They built from a small store to a major powerhouse. But they've never done cards before as a manufacturer like Topps and Panini have. How do you give someone that's brand new in this space basically a blank check of 20 years? That was the biggest head scratcher to me, is like, no, they should have did 5-10 years. I'm sure there's some fine print in the contract where if, the players of the league are not happy with what Fanatics is doing with the cards or the brands, maybe they can opt out potentially, but a 20-year contract, I don't care who it is. That's too long for anything. I don't think I'm married 21 years. That's a long. I'm going to tell you, it's a long time. So, but Val, Logan, kind of your thoughts, with what we've seen recently. And again, we're a couple years away, but what do you think?
Well, I think Fanatics is they're looking to be the one-stop shop for everything, not just for the cards themselves, but the distribution and the retail side and wanting to do grading and all these things that you hear. And to me, I don't really like that. I don't want one company being able to literally be holding all the cards, so to speak.
Yep. Yeah.
I just don't think that's good for the hobby.
Yep.
I think it would be. I think it's a bad thing. But time will tell. We'll see. Right now I'm not liking it. Maybe 5 years from now I might like it. I don't know. But I'm like everybody else. I hate to see Topps go away. I grew up just like everybody else collecting Topps baseball cards, and that's just an iconic brand, an iconic staple that I just don't want to see go away. And I'm hoping something happens in these next several years that keeps all that alive.
If they're going to try, and I think, John, you hinted at it, to not look like the bully and look like they care about the collector and that they're doing this for the collector, or they assume that the collector doesn't have any choice and that they're going to go no matter what to collect Fanatics. So I think it's a kind of a, curious to see what the collector does. Sometimes, do they shun, say Fanatics has all the licenses, but Topps still produces something, do the collectors stay loyal to Topps or do they go to Fanatics? So I'm curious, just because, they're the only ones, they're not the ones who can make cards, right? Maybe it's the cards that we think it is, but what will the collector do?
For another fast break, but we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, have you heard about Collectible? It's the one-stop shop where any collector can buy and trade affordable shares in some of the most rare and valuable sports cards and memorabilia in the world, starting from just $5. From 1952 Mickey Mantle PSA 10s and Wilt Chamberlain's iconic rookie uniform to one-of-one Patrick Mahomes RPAs, rare LeBron James logo mans, and everything in between, Collectible is creating never-before-seen access and opportunities for all. Let's grow the hobby we love together. Please note this is not a recommendation or solicitation to buy any security. All investment decisions should be undertaken after doing your own research.
We have returned with Val, Logan, and Jason. Michael Rubin was on Squawk Box a little less than 2 weeks ago, and first time they've commented really publicly since these announcements. And they asked him, the host, whose name escapes me, but the host asked Michael Rubin any intention existing card manufacturers, and to question and say, well, we're open to anything. He said, most likely, quote, most likely. So there's the answer right there as far as them buying another company. So they want to. When you say most likely, right, that means there's some sort of desire there. And so, I would think Topps is the leader in the clubhouse, but then there's another rumor that they just do. They got all 4 major sport licenses.
Well, the collector holds all the power because they're the ones spending their hard-earned money. And NASCAR showed that even with the Fanatics and the merchandise deal, where the collector purchase NASCAR collector, whatever, resisted that, and they went back to the old way. So, it can be done, but we'll see what the collector does.
Yeah, it's gonna, and Jason said something that I felt like he was talking for me or was reading my mind that I thought was very, poignant as far as I think we are scared of change as when you're in the hobby a long time, you can sort of get used to things being a certain way. I think that kind of epitomizes even other things in life, right? Anytime someone comes in and starts changing everything around. We see it in the corporate world, right? Your new company buys out the company you work for, and then there's always that uneasiness. Are they going to bring in their own folks? Are they going to downsize? Are they going to cut this department? Well, same thing in cards, right? Someone kind of comes in, and we're like, we're going to lose a brand. There's going to be no more heritage. There's going to be no more this. There's going to be no more the whole brand itself if they don't work out some sort of buyout or subleasing, if you will. And so it's kind of scary. If I'm not a set collector like I used to be years ago, but if I was, now that line might stop. If they don't make any more cards, you can't collect that heritage. The example Jason used. If heritage doesn't live on, he can't add to that inventory. And so, sure, those things, they make you mad, they make you angry, they make you uneasy, even fearful might be too strong of a word, but like what's going to happen here? This is a hobby we obviously all have a passion, a love for. We don't want to see it suffer or changed to the point where we don't enjoy it in the same fashion. And so, yeah, I felt exactly what you were saying, Jason. We're gonna have to wait and see, I guess, and that's all we can do. We're gonna fly by the seat of our pants for the next couple of years. I got a feeling, and I think you guys agree. We're gonna hear stuff before that. If Topps gets sold to Fanatics, it's not gonna be a last minute. I'd be shocked if it was sort of a 24th hour deal. It's going to be in the next year or two, in the very least. And, but again, someone else asked me in a DM, John, because I get asked questions like that. Do you think Fanatics winds up buying Topps? And I say, my answer is I hope so. But, Topps also has to be willing to sell. For there to be a transaction, right? There's got to be a buyer and a seller. A lot of people want to buy things, but the sellers aren't selling things, so it's going to be a two-way street. So, everything I read about with Michael Eisner, very upset, a couple holes in his wall in his office, called Rob Manfred. 3-hour conversation, not a pleasant one. If you know anything about his history, he's a guy that's not used to losing. He lost this, whether he likes to admit it. Just kind of as we come down the stretch here, guys, we'll go around the room with the three of you. Your favorite racing cars. Little plug for your favorite racing cars.
1972 STP. It was a set that Andy Granatelli gave away in 1971-72 during Speed Week in Daytona. It's an 11-card set, and promotional, just like the early baseball, football cards were promotional. The 1972 STP was the same way, and it's got first cards for all these Hall of Famers, and so it been chasing them for the last 10-15 years. Been a lot of fun, and probably my favorite set.
Yeah, I would agree with Val on that, but I also want to add the 1988 Max as well, because 1988 Max was the first mass-produced set, and believe it or not, I bought my first set of those cards from Bill Elliott's merchandise hauler in 1988 at Talladega. So I vividly remember us driving back from Talladega with my wife in the back seat. It was me and my father-in-law in the front seat, my mother-in-law and my wife in the back. And my wife actually opening up the box, going through the cards, taking them and showing them to me as I'm driving, talking about them. Like I said, I have a very soft spot for those cards. I love those cards. It's a great set to collect. It's only 100 cards and it's very collectible, even now.
Yep. How about Jason?
I'm going to differ from them a little bit because I'm such a 90s kid. My prime years are like 90, 91 for collecting. So for me, it's 91 Max. Not one particular card, but just that set and the design of the cards is such a memory for me, just because no sentimental value or anything like that. It's just that's what I first remember seeing for NASCAR stuff. And that's just my prime years of collecting right there. So
awesome. All right, guys. First off, thanks for coming on and like me with all your NASCAR expertise. Well, something I lack, as most know, but I'm learning. I know more today than I did a few years back. I'll say that much. I have more NASCAR, more racing cards than I've ever had. I blame Val there. So, give out where people can catch a NASCAR radio. Anything you want to share?
You can find NASCAR Radio on all your favorite podcast platforms, iTunes. New shows drop on Friday, and you can also find me on Twitter at NASCAR Radio.
Yeah, and you can find me with Jason and Val on NASCAR Radio, and like Val said, it drops every Friday. It's a great show. We have a good time. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at King NASCAR.
There you go.
And for me, it's pretty much Jason Dean Martin everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. It's usually Jason Dean Martin.
Well, thanks for having us on, John.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
What doesn't one of one card shop do? From box, case, and personal brakes, there's always fire being pulled. They offer bulk grading subs, and their large store located in Strongsville, Ohio, offers an incredible selection of sports cards, non-sports, and authentic autographed memorabilia. Steve and family will treat you right. Check them out on Instagram at One of One Card Shop or on the web at oneofonecardshop.com.
All right, we've come to the end of episode 149. I want to thank you out there. Without you, there is no Sports Card Nation, and I don't take that for granted for even a split second, or at least I try not to. So thank you. Want to thank Val, Jason, Logan coming on the show, man. Having had a blast, and glad they could come on and share their knowledge of not just the NASCAR world, but the sports card world as well. You can check all three of those guys out on Hobby Hotline along with myself. And speaking of Hobby Hotline, some news there. That's our Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time conglomerate live podcast with numerous hosts. Well, that list is getting longer. And we're going to a second day a week. So we're going to be live Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll just use Eastern Time. You can kind of do the math. And we're adding a second show in November. This will be starting in November. Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. So Saturday, 11 a.m. Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Same format, just some different faces here and there. Let's talk about some of the folks that you're going to probably catch once or twice a month on the show now. We've added, I believe, 7 or 8 new hosts in no particular order. We have Chris Carlin from Upper Deck, Susan Lujaraj, affectionately known as Sue. She's going to be sharing her vast hobby expertise on the show. Jason Martin, like I said. Yamwax is now a cast member. And Corey's a great guy, great asset to the hobby. I've said it many times, one of the most unselfish guys, not just with items, but with knowledge and helping people out. And he's going to bring that to the show, and glad to have him. Michael Moynihan, baseball collector from YouTube. Great guy, friend of mine. Happy to have him on board. Big into vintage, quite the collection. I've seen it personally. Knows his stuff. He's going to bring that knowledge and expertise to the program. Happy to have him as well. Hobby Hotline's self-proclaimed number one fan, Bo Thompson, 1 Million Cubs. He's going to be a regular now. So someone, he made a funny post. Someone's going to have to take the number one fan title and run with it. But happy to have Bo be a part of that show. I know he's when we're doing the show, he's very active in the chat room and very supportive and good guy, asset to the hobby. Happy to have him on as well. A few more, like I said, no particular order. Ryan Nolan from Breakout Cards. Probably hear him mostly on Tuesdays, I'm guessing, as he's doing that show circuit for his video log, and he does a great job traveling the country. The guy is a jet setter, so I'm sure he'll bring some of those experiences to his appearances about what he's seeing in real time in the marketplace. And Adam Palmer from Heroes for Sale, another guy with his finger on the pulse. He does like a daily content. I don't know where he gets the time. He's a family man and a dad, but pumping out all the content, does a great job with it. And great cast of hobbyists, collectors, and more importantly, a great cast of people, right? The hobbyists, the people. And there's some great ones there. I think we've gotten 18 or 19 hosts now, going to a second day. And the great thing about that show, right, is it'll be a fresh every time out, because generally you're only going to see each of these great, fine people, including myself, about once a month. And so every one of these shows, whether it be Saturday or Tuesday, you're going to have, most likely 3 different people on the program talking about what's going on. And the other great thing, it's an interactive show. It's a call-in show. So you can be a cast member literally every week by calling into the show, coming onto the show, and speaking your mind and what's on your mind. So that's the advantage you have. I can only be on the show once a month, twice a month if every once in a while. But you can be on literally every episode if you call in and chat with us, and that's a great thing. So love to see you do it. That being said, thank you everybody. I appreciate everything, and don't ever forget, the hobby is the people.